We have yet another Operation Protect the White Boy about to go into full effect for this individual. And yes, you are looking at an individual who has the jersey that says Jackson State on there. Yes, that Jackson State University, the same Jackson State that Deion Sanders used to coach at. So in this picture, you see someone, his name is Jack Dawson, not to be confused with the character that Leonardo DiCaprio played in Titanic. That's a different Jack Dawson. It's just that they happen to have the same name, where he was charged with a pool cue incident, well, assault on a former teammate at another school, because he did not enroll directly at Jackson State. He was at Troy University and he transferred. I wonder if he transferred there because of this incident, but I'm sure hopefully this story that I'm gonna read to you coming from WJTV will go into more detail about that. And it'll go into why I say the Operation Protect the White Boy is about to go into full effect for him. A Jackson State University football player charged with repeatedly assaulting a former teammate has applied for youthful offender status in the criminal cases against him, according to a court official. I have never heard of youthful offender status. That must be a state thing. Jack Dawson, a punter for Jacksonville State University. It's Jacksonville State. I thought it was Jackson State. Excuse me. So there are two different schools. I didn't know there was a Jacksonville. Sorry about that. A punter for Jacksonville State University is accused of 3 assaults against a former teammate during his time at Troy University. The alleged assaults, which the victim said were the result of players' perception that he was homosexual, ranged from verbal harassment, which included sexual statements and homophobic slurs, to molestation and violence, ultimately culminating with forced sodomy of the victim with a pool cue. That is absolutely disgusting. You know what this reminds me of? Y'all remember that story that came out of Idaho a few years ago where these PC boys had put a hanger in his black boy's rectum? Sorry to get graphic here, but I mean, I have to put it like that. I had spoke about that. That happened a few years ago, and that was just absolutely disturbing. And now here you have this right here. I need to know from the academy, are they going to call this out, since they want to talk so much about how the black community is so homophobic? It's rare that you'll actually hear black people committing an act like this. Not saying that they're incapable, but a lot of the times it's usually them. The sick, twisted fantasies a lot of them have in fetishes is through the roof. The warrants against Dawson, which were issued in October 2021, went unserved for months until reporting by CBS 42, which first highlighted the active arrest warrants against the Australian football player. So he's not even from here. He's from abroad. A court official said Tuesday that Dawson's trial on the 3 charges, which had appeared on a public docket as of last week, will now be closed to the public. Why are they protecting him? This should be public. All of it. But we know why. The attorney for Mr. Dawson has applied for youthful offender in all 3 cases, Neil Armstrong. Again, not to be confused with that Neil Armstrong. Troy's court clerk said in an email, thus these cases are now presumed sealed and no longer open to the public. This also seals the courtroom to where no public will be allowed inside. This includes the press. Oh, they going all out for this guy. Alabama law allows those accused of crimes that took place before they turned 21 years old to apply for so-called youthful offender status. Dawson was 20 at the time of the alleged assaults. If his request for youthful offender status is granted, the criminal case against Dawson will be permanently sealed from public view. The earliest alleged assault occurred in October 2020, according to a handwritten account by the victim filed with local police. The incident occurred inside Troy University's Davis Fieldhouse. The victim was watching a football game on his phone, laying down minding his own business, when he began experiencing intense pain. Suddenly, I felt something piercing and entering my anus/rectum area, the man reported to police. Jack Dawson deliberately shoved a pool stick up my rectum. I had immediately intractable and excruciating pain. I immediately reached for the area and rolled on the floor, withering in severe pain. I was extremely upset and humiliated by what was done, and the laughter in the area that occurred by the players who saw it. After checking my phone, humiliated and deeply embarrassed by what was done to me, I got up and went to the restroom in a ton of pain mentally and physically. I started crying on the way to the bathroom. That is sick. That is absolutely sick. And this is who they want to protect. And you want to know what's so crazy? Let's just say, hypothetically, all of this stuff goes this person's way who you see on the screen. This is going to go away and he's going to go out into the world and act like nothing happened. He might get a corporate job or better, and they're not going to ever bring this up again, because remember, they said that if this goes through, if his request goes through, these documents will be sealed from public, meaning no one will ever know what really happened or what happened as far as the courts go. So they literally are doing the whole, let's protect his future. We got to look out for his future. I wonder what the race or ethnicity was of the student that he did this to. On his phone, he said, was a Snapchat notification. One of his teammates had video recorded the entire assault and sent it out to Troy football players, he said, including himself. He filmed the entire incident from the couch, he wrote. I then sat down on the toilet and cried, bawling my eyes out because of what happened. The second assault charge against Dawson stems from an incident in November 2020. The victim's handwritten account said that he was at a residence on Norfolk Avenue in Troy when Jack Dawson and a second player picked him up and carried him outside, aiming to throw him in the pool. One picked me up by my shoulders and the other had my legs, he wrote. I frantically yelled and told them to get off of me and put me down. I continued to scream, wiggle, and tell them to stop. Now, as you're listening to this story, it's actually surprising to me that the person that they did this to did not do something extreme to them. I'm going to just leave that right there. Y'all pretty much use your imagination and figure out what it is I'm alluding to. Soon the victim's teammates dropped him on the pool deck, he said, resulting in an abrasion. Jack Stockdale Dawson did, with intent to cause physical injury to another person, caused physical injury by picking him up, carrying him outside, dropping him on the pool deck of 101 Norfolk Avenue, causing a large bruise to his right side, according to a city's complaint against Dawson. The final assault charge against Dawson related to events that occurred in December 2020. The victim said one day in early December, he went to the home on Norfolk Avenue to help another player with his homework. Jack Dawson soon showed up and immediately began targeting him, he wrote. You know, what's so funny is that they're claiming or accusing this person that they keep messing with of being in the academy. But I gotta be honest with you, this Jack Dawson might be himself on the low. And the reason I say this is because he continuously targets this one person. He's not messing with anybody else. He keeps messing with this one person. And you know, there's this age-old saying that especially when you were young kids, if you was a boy and it was a girl that you liked, you would constantly mess with her or say things about her because that was your way of saying you liked her without telling her that you liked her. Same thing with the girl, maybe with the boy. That was a way of telling her that she liked, telling you or sending signals that she liked you without actually saying she liked you. That's just how kids are. But this is that on an extremely disturbing level. So I don't know, that is there something, Jack Dawson, is there something you would like to tell the rest of the class? He grabbed a drink from me, the victim wrote. He commonly did things like this to show his dominance over me. He knew I would not fight back. The victim said Dawson then sat on top of him and would not get up despite pleas from himself and another teammate. After he was able to free himself, he said Dawson attacked him. Jack then slapped me as hard as he could, he wrote. I had immediate pain in my nose and face and started crying. Everyone else was laughing and kidding at me. See, the way that this is described, it almost sounds like a person in a very abusive relationship. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't know, like, if that's how y'all are reading this as well as hearing this as I'm reading this, but that's what this sounds like to me, like someone in a domestic violence relationship. Soon, the former Troy player said that Dawson contacted him, telling him to come back to the house for a quote-unquote free slap. Other players, too, urged him to return to the home to settle things with Dawson. I went back to the house, not realizing that it was a setup. Dawson hit me in the face with his fist a few times, causing even more pain. I wouldn't have gone back. Jack, or at least if I was to go back, have something where set up where, I don't know if you could have recorded this or documented this, like a hidden camera. I don't know. It says Jack Stockdale Dawson did with intent to cause physical injury to another person, caused physical injury by slapping him in the face with his open hand very hard, causing bruising to his nose, according to the city complaints against Dawson. Mary Ellen Bates, a lawyer for Dawson, said Monday that her client plans to proceed to trial on the assault charges. In his response to the federal lawsuit against him, Dawson has denied all allegations, instead claiming he was the one victimized by his accuser. This was one wild story. And you know what? I don't even want to sit here and say that the victim is even making any of this up, because how could you make any of that up? That's a very elaborate, detailed summary of assaults that happen over a period of time. And these happen in the span of what it sounds like to be about 2 to 3 months. And it was a repeated thing. That is absolutely insane, because, you know, thinking about it, going into the article, you're thinking that he only did the thing with the pool cue. But then it's like it was repeated stuff after the fact. It's just that pool cue was one of the worst parts. Like I said, he basically sodomized him. He's basically sodomized him because apparently this person is allegedly in the academy. And it's like, if you feel some type of way about this person, then just leave them alone, especially if they're not bothering you. And it sounds like this victim was of no threat or any kind of harm or any kind of disturbance to him, but he had an issue with him and he decided to continue to play off of that. That's why I said, is there something he would like to tell us? Because he repeatedly targeted this person for whatever reason. It's like he wanted him to start a confrontation. That's why I said the victim has more patience and restraint than a monk, because anybody would have snapped. That's why I said this Jack Dawson guy is lucky to even still be breathing. Because if this accuser, if what they're saying is true, wanted to pop off on him, he would have had free reign to do it. But the thing about it is, this Jack Dawson person, he probably has skated through his entire life and knows something is not going to happen to him. And if something does, it's going to fall upon the person that committed the act against him. He has that very arrogant, egotistical, narcissistic view of the world. Well, more so of himself. And it shows. So when you read into everything that I just told you, now I think I see why he's no longer at that school. But the point of the matter is, if this youthful offender status goes into play, everything that's documented is going to be sealed from public view, which means if he is to walk on by from this, which they're setting it up for him to do, he will be able to go out and get a decent career, and he won't have to answer any questions about any type of things in his past, because it's sealed, because they're not going to be able to go and find it, because it's sealed by the courts. It's sealed by the legal staff, the legal teams, the ones who have control of it. They'll never be able to release it, because they won't be able to. They just can't. By law, they won't be able to. So he's going to be good. Meanwhile, the person who he victimized is going to have to deal with the trauma of what he did, as well as the other teammates, for the rest of his life.